Well, as Jeanette practices her recorder upstairs, I'm sitting downstairs the following morning, Sunday. I wanted to tell you about a fellow that we talked to, who I had kind of noticed as being a distinguished-looking fellow. He walks in a very poised sort of way, and we were guessing maybe he was some kind of actor. Also, Jeanette says his face type is exactly like mine, and he looks like an old Gurney relative, long-lost relative. So we'd been looking forward to talking to him, and we met him today. His name is Harrison Muller. Interesting name. Lives in Woodstock, and since Jeanette and I had just been reading the John Pike book, John Pike Who Lived in Woodstock, we said, have you heard of John Pike? And he says, "Oh, John Pike," and his eyes opened up wide, and it turned out that Harrison Muller has been a friend of John Pike for over 30 years, until John Pike's death in 1978, I believe, or something thereabouts. And not only that Harrison Muller is, as one of his avocations, an artist, and knows the art world up there inside out. He is by profession a dancer and a dancing instructor, retired now. Used to run a dancing school in Rhinebeck, up above the smoke shop and the jewelry store. There's those buildings that Bryn and Paul you've seen. There was at one time, although it's been divided up now, I think, a big open wooden-floored loft that he ran as a dancing school. He and his wife Pat. But they live in Woodstock now, and he told us a few John Pike stories and told us about him. He said John Pike was a man of great energy and love of life, and who, of course, traveled all over the world, Morocco, Canada, Alaska, Australia, everywhere, and who, like many older illustrators and painters of his generation, became something of an alcoholic and a heavy smoker in his later life. He smoked like a chimney, and in his 60s had a heart attack and a throat cancer operation, and yet despite all of that, he never gave up the habits. And I asked him about that because he said that all those guys, all those older illustrators, like Tom, you were mentioning what you thought that old paperback cover illustrator must have been like, just guessing. There is that classic stereotype of the old illustrator, and he said that that's what those guys were like, that he knew. Smoke and drank. I said, why? He said, well, he named a lot of reasons. One is that the illustrators felt their influence and prestige undermined by television and movies, since, of course, the days of the old, the old Post and the old Collier's. He said that to John Pike, the demise of Collier's magazine, which had been one of his main accounts, did a lot to frustrate him as an illustrator and as an artist, and actually made him begin to turn towards gallery painting in his later life. And another thing he said was that John Pike, like most other illustrators and artists that he knew, had a deep sense of insecurity, and that he was always trying to prove to himself and to others that he was good. In some ways that was a positive thing, because it gave him the drive to try to outdo each previous effort. But it, in the end, he said, it almost defeated him. He was always wondering whether he was any good, and it was a tough thing for him. And I said that that was the impression I got after reading Norman Rockwell's autobiography, that Rockwell was that way. And it turned out after I made that comment that Harrison Muller has also been a longtime friend of Peter Rockwell, one of Rockwell's sons, the sculptor who lived in Italy. Harrison and Peter shared an apartment in Rome when they were living in Italy, and got to know him real well. And Peter, sculptor and art historian, talks a lot about his father and what made him tick to Harrison. Harrison said that it was hard for Peter to finally get from under the shadow of Norman and to define himself as an artist. Peter was the one who Norman said in his autobiography they had long discussions about modernism and all this, and they didn't always agree. Norman's opinions were pretty well set, and his world did revolve around him. We did get the impression, though, that Norman was something more of a family man than we had originally expected, because after reading the autobiography, we got the feeling that Norman really cared more for his work than anything else. But Harrison said that when they went out to Hollywood, Peter and Jarvis and Norman and all the rest of the family, they had a great time, and that they all did stuff together. And Peter Rockwell, Harrison described as one of the finest of people, and just a really interesting person to talk to. So we're hoping to perhaps meet him sometime in the near future. We're kind of gradually discovering how the art world around here ticks. And boy, from what he was saying about what Woodstock was and is like, he said he couldn't believe we haven't been up there more than a couple times. He gave us the name of one of the big moving forces in Woodstock, a guy named Angelock, who does landscapes in a realistic tradition, and was one of the main forces in the Art Students League, both in New York and the summer school branch up here in Woodstock. And he knew all about Riley and Ferragasso and all the Riley students and teachers who were working up in Woodstock in the summertime. Angelock has really kept the whole tradition alive. Let's see, the Art Students League itself, the summer version of it up in Woodstock, is no longer officially called that. It's called the Woodstock School of Art. They still have the same buildings. They still have life classes and painting classes. It's mainly a summer thing, but as far as he knew, there might be some classes going through the winter. So we'll look into that. But it's a very active tradition, and it revolved around this fellow Angelock and John Pike. John Pike did some murals, he said, for one of the banks in Woodstock, or in Kingston, and Pike is responsible for some of the redevelopment of uptown Kingston. Pike's famous palette became an active business for his wife, and he planned it that way so that after he died that she would have a business to go on. And it turned out that although John Pike waited to teach until his later life, I believe his 50s and 60s, he ended up making more money from teaching and from his palette than he ever did as an illustrator. Not what he expected. An excellent businessman, we're made to understand. John Pike, really good, sharp businessman, and a handyman, do-it-yourselfer, inventor type. He carved all the big wooden doors in his studio. He invented all kinds of fancy viewfinders, palettes, easels, everything. And just an incredibly energetic man. About the Rockwell fortune, it's now in quite a bit of litigation. There has been a lot of controversy among the lawyers representing the descendants of Norman Rockwell as to who owns the rights to the post covers, the second rights, for all the knickknacks and bric-a-bracs and second rights sales. Curtis Publishing has been claiming with copyright notice that they own all rights, and the estate is trying to sue for the rights, and it's still in litigation, but millions and millions of dollars are, of course, being, which otherwise should have belonged to the family, are being siphoned off to Curtis Publishing. What other story? But Norman Rockwell didn't leave his descendants penniless. Peter Rockwell spent a good deal of his fortune on a hilltop town in Italy. There's this one little town in northern Italy where the whole village is built right on top of this kind of vertical mountain. It's got a little road leading up to the top, and he bought the entire town, and now it's being lived in by a bunch of his friends and whatnot, mostly artists, who have just taken over this town and turned it into this strange kind of artistic, Felliniistic paradise of sketching and painting and all this. And Harrison and Pat had visited this town and had said that it's a fascinating place. I forget the name of it, but they said to definitely visit it when you're up there. John Pike also worked in a famous Cooper Studios in New York City on Lexington, along with Kobe Whitmore and John Whitcomb. John Pike was the only one who held out against the camera. Harrison was saying that all the other guys, Kobe and the rest, I don't know if Al Parker worked there, but all those old guys. But John Pike, the wind and rain man, as they called him, the guy who did the landscapes and the atmospheric shots, was the one kind of staunch purist at the time about working from life. And while the rest of those guys kind of faded away or tried to ride the wave of the latest current style, and there was John Pike painting his landscapes and holding to his ideals. Now that was, I guess that story was it was changed a little bit in the retelling, but that's basically what he said. Anyway, he was a member of the old Cooper Studios. And so this was the capper, was he was telling me about Rockwell's studio burning down, and I told him he went into a dramatic story about how Rockwell left the pipe in the wastebasket with all his paint rags and it went up in flames. And I said, as I was walking away, that I heard that it was Meade Schaefer's pipe, but we'll have to talk about that later. And walked away. We knew that we have a lot more to talk about. I had told him that there is a core of illustrators living both back east and in California who have been studying the famous artist course and the work of the old masters of illustration of Cornwell and Howard Pyle and N.C. Wyeth and Leyendecker, and also the teaching methods of the French Academy and Frank Riley, and his eyes were just lighting up. And I said, we're bringing back the tradition of academic painting and of realism through illustration and gallery painting, and he couldn't believe the fact that all these names were not forgotten, and he knew Walt Reed, and he knew about all these guys, and he was so excited. We told him that there is a dozen or so illustrators and gallery painters with whom we've been keeping up with via letters and tapes and all, who have been reviving all this knowledge, and that we're, in our various work, our diverse sort of things, from paperback covers to museum quality gallery paintings to comic work to the whole range, that Ron and Paul and Bryn and Richard and Bill Stout, Tom Kincaid, James Warhola. We're talking about all these people who are fanatics for the old days and going to bring it back alive into the 21st century, and that some of us hope to pass it along in form of teaching, maybe 5 or 10 years from now, maybe more, who knows. And was he ever flipped out to hear that. So anyhow, so much for our visit with Harrison Muller. We'll keep turning over some old rocks and discovering more about the art world out here and letting you guys know. So long. Paul and Elizabeth, I'm listening through your tapes again, especially the tape right now I'm listening to of your visit up to Washington. And it's fun to ride along with you guys and to kind of see how you see the world. And riding in a car is the ultimate way to just kind of sit back and relax and enjoy the kind of endless parade of images that keeps going by on the road. And there's so many fun moments, like describing the time you guys got pulled over by the cop and how you responded to the situation, and hearing your reminiscences about the set at Lucasfilm with that wonderful society of people who worship technological gadgets and make and have gadgets in a treasure chest and make throne out of old pieces of technology. That's a great concept. I'm sure it'll I'm sure it's an old one in science fiction, and I'm sure it's one that that in the hands of Lucasfilm will be the ultimate expression of it. Also, Paul, really enjoyed hearing the voices of your family, and the kind of warm and bubbly, personable charm that your mom has, and your Auntie May I'm listening to right now. If I was writing a novel, boy, she's definitely a person I'd want to include in as a character. She sounds like a character in a Dickens novel somehow, doesn't she? You mentioned that Paul Bunyan's story about shoveling all those islands into the Puget Sound. I've also heard a similar tale, a Paul Bunyan tale, used in reference to how the 1,000 Islands in the St. Lawrence Seaway were created. That there was some kind of bet that Paul Bunyan undertook that he could dig some lake out, and while he was trying to do his side of the bet, he threw all these shovelfuls into the St. Lawrence, and each shovelful became an island, one of the 1,000 islands. And your story about the hitchhiker that you saw a couple times along the road, the guy who looked like the king of the hobos, it sounds like that old suspense story, The Hitchhiker, where you keep seeing the same guy again and again. What a good tale that is. So anyway, this is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to listen to.
I'll send her against the light.
Oh, Paul, you asked, and I haven't answered on this tape yet, about the tape recorder that I got before going to Europe. I believe Tom's getting one too, and it's a good traveling rig. I like using the Marantz for in the studio, and for I use it all the time. The bigger one I use all the time for doing multiple tape mixing stuff. But this one is the greatest. This is the one that I think most of the NPR reporters use. It's called the Sony WM-D6C Stereo Professional Walkman. It has stereo mini plugs in it, and uses a stereo microphone. There's two kinds of microphones you can get. One is a long, thin, normal-shaped microphone, like the one that you hold in your hand with an element on each side of it. The other one is more of a pistol grip thing. The advantage of that one is it has a little base that you can use, and you can just set it down on a table, and the microphone aims out sort of sideways. I should really do a sketch of it for you. But the microphone is called ECM929LT. ECM929LT. The tape recorder, I think, runs about 220. Used to be like 500, but the price has just dropped and dropped. At AdRaise, they may even have a lower price on it, but around 220. And the microphone is approximately $70 or something dollars. And then I got an AC adapter and also a NiCad battery recharging unit, which are separate accessories. And the NiCads are great because you can charge it up in a hotel room in the evening, and then you have batteries to go for a couple days. But the stereo aspect of it opens up a whole new dimension of realism, and it really, boy, just as you have seen, it also will play back. If you'll make a copy of a stereo tape, it comes with a little adapter, so it'll plug into your mixer or your stereo unit, and then you can make a copy in stereo. And the whole thing is exactly the size of a normal Walkman. It's about I don't have a ruler here, but it looks like about 7 or 8 inches by about 4 inches by about 1.5 inches deep, and it only weighs just a pound or so. Real tiny. It's about the size, a little larger than a paperback, a real thick paperback book. Okay, well, I'll go back to listening to your tape.
Don't you think it's a riot?
Paul, you said that at that hotel you had the worst night of sleep ever below 12,000 feet. Could you explain what the worst night of sleep was you had? especially anyone that you had above 12,000 feet. It sounds like there's a good story in there somewhere. Also, a larger question. You said in passing on the tape that the experience you had in Nepal changed your life. It was a life-changing experience, and you just said it in passing, and I wondered if you could enlarge on that a little bit and sort of explain how you saw America differently. Like when you saw that salmon, you said that could only happen in America. And Bryn has often talked about things like Mormonism as being really American, and I feel like I don't have the perspective that you guys have had to see Americanism as being separate from the rest of the world. And I wonder if you could talk about how it made you see America differently, and also how it changed just yourself in the inside, and how you see things differently, and how your Nepal trip changed your life. Back to your trip. I mean,
Pulled in
whoa.
and took the room directly above ours.
It's pulling out.
It was pulling in.
Paul, could you explain how Salimba 3D works? Who, the editor of
Radio 77 WABC. I'm Kathy Novak, turning it over to Roger Skibinos and Kathleen Maloney.
Live from WABC Radio in New York, this is Storm Watch, continuous coverage of Hurricane Gloria. Stay with us all through the day for the most complete storm coverage. From Talk Radio 77, WABC. WABC News keeping its eye on Hurricane Gloria this morning as it moves ever closer and closer to Long Island. Hurricane warning in effect, major tidal flooding today, flood watch for flooding due to the heavy rains. These are just a few of the ingredients, all associated with Hurricane Gloria. Let's get an update now on the weather situation as we go to our WABC Weather Center and the latest on Gloria from meteorologist Hank Berg. Hank?
Roger, radar shows right now that the storm is centered approximately 35 to 40 miles off the central New Jersey coast. It's really not too far away from the island right now, and I will say within an hour, this storm, the center of the storm, will be moving ashore over central Long Island, perhaps over Nassau County. The storm itself, obviously carrying winds of up to 120 miles per hour right now, will cause winds across the city of 40 to 60 with gusts to 75. Eastern Long Island, which will bear the brunt of the storm, already seeing quite an increase in winds, and 75 to 85 sustained as the eye moves across Long Island. Gusts to over 100, and northern and western suburbs, of course, only about 30 miles an hour or so with some stronger gusts. But basically, what's happening right now all across the area, spiral bands around the storm are coming in, and so we're getting torrential downpours at times, very strong gusty winds.
Storm Watch continues here in Rhinebeck. You might wonder whether the storm's going to hit Rhinebeck. Well, Jeanette can tell you something about inside Kilmer's when she was getting groceries today.
I went to Kilmer's to just buy a few things for our dinner tonight, and there were all these people buying mega provisions and wearing Wellington boots, knee-high Wellington boots and Southwesters, big ponchos. I blew my mind, but they're all really battening down for a storm. It might be, 3-4 days.
There's two things that Rhinebeckers will swarm the store for. One is the county fair, and the other is a storm.
Yeah, storm. Before the fair.
How is the mood of people? Do they seem
Oh,
nervous?
no, not at all.
Joking or what?
No, just saying, all the ladies who work there were saying, I wish I was home, because they're looking out, and that's where trees are whipping around, and the Kilmer's parking lot was under like 4 inches of water, went right over the top of my rubber shoes.
So we might get some local flooding of streams here.
I think
just down the river on the Tappan Zee, a truck was blown off.
Yeah, a tractor trailer full of furniture blew off the Tappan Zee into the Hudson River.
So
Yikes.
it's about another 2 hours.
Said people survived.
Yeah,
They got taken to the
amazing.
hospital. They were rescued by boats. Hudson's. I would like to drive down to see the Hudson today, later.
That would be incredible.
I want to go to Rhinecliff. It's probably churning.
After the center goes by.
Yeah.
And we'll, of course, take the tape along for a live,
We'll bring you.
up-to-the-minute report on the storm in Rhinebeck.
Hurricane Gloria.
September 1985.
Evacuating southeastern Connecticut. What? Where did they bring these people?
Wow.
It's the most populated
That's not
area
far from here,
in the
honey.
United States.
That's not too far from here.
They didn't mean like, they didn't mean like where...
Okay, that's the governor of New Jersey talking about the damage in his state. It's 11:30, and come on upstairs with us, and I'll let you see how much it's raining outside. Jeanette's fixing some soup and sandwiches. Went out the back door into the screen porch. The wind is sort of gusty right now. In fact, it looks like it's blowing about, 20 miles an hour or so. Now you can hear the wind blowing and, or the rain landing on the back of the house. Hopefully it's draining away from the basement. But we're glad we're not too near a flood surge area, because if our basement flooded, we'd lose all of our originals, all of our books, all of our geographics, all of our records, stereo, everything's down there. Hi, Jeanette. I'm just taking Paul and Richard out and Tom and everybody else into the backyard.
Hurricane Gloria?
Yeah, but it's not much out here yet. It's just like a heavy rainstorm.
And I don't think that tree's going to make it, and I hope we have the tape recorder out when that branch breaks.
Yeah, there's this old kind of weed tree out behind us. It's not in danger of falling on the house, but it's we keep seeing branches breaking off. So
Look at it.
when the wind picks up.
Look at that.
Oh yeah.
I think that branch is going to break sometime.
Hi, Elizabeth and Rebecca and Bryn. How are you guys doing? This weather is exciting out here.
Don't you want to move here and be in a hurricane?
Come on, this is where it's at.
Hurricanes in California.
Yeah.
You guys missed out. Fun.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Just get out of our paddles from the kayak and we'll be ready to paddle our house down the street.
We're set. If it floods, we're set.
Hey, that's true. We got our kayak.
But I think I'd be worried about our art studio.
I don't think we'd be paddling around joyriding.
Unless we're in it. In the art studio.
Wow, look at that gust, Jeanette. It's picking up quite a bit. The old weed tree is really swinging around.
That's a giant
You can hear it
tree.
raining harder.
They say softwood trees are really in danger. Hey, there's a big old dead birch down the block. We'll have to go over there and check it out. I want to drive over to the Hudson. There's a 12-foot tidal surge, and I'd love to see the Hudson go up 12
That'll affect
feet.
Rhinecliff, no doubt. I'm going to move the garbage cans because right now they're lying on their side, and I think the wind's going to blow them away. So come on and be out in the backyard. Oops, let me put this over my shoulder. We had a brief power outage, only long enough for the backups to come back on. But we're planning to have guests over tonight. Janet Penny and Marge Wheeler, the artists in town, and Jeanette's got lasagna to cook on our electric range, so we're hoping that for that alone, that we have. Wow, it's windy. We're hoping that for that reason alone, we have a little bit of electricity. Otherwise, we don't mind sitting around candlelight. Okay, it's pouring heavily outside. It's about 12:30. The storm center is now over Long Island, and it's on its way up to Greenwich, Connecticut. But we're feeling definitely the effects out here, with some fairly steady breezes and a very, very heavy downfall. So come on with me while I move these garbage cans. And you'll be dry, but I won't. Okay. Whoop. They're full of water. We have plastic garbage cans, as you can hear. I'm just wearing some crummy shoes, so they're getting kind of wet. That's a garage door opening. They were talking about how the storm was picking up bricks and rocks and pieces of wood. So if it did that, even a little bit less wind, like 60 miles an hour, could certainly take these garbage cans and send them over into Ulster County across the river. Okay, I'm in the garage now, on the way back into the house. And we'll go take a look and see how Jeanette's doing. We may have another blackout soon. Okay. Okay. We haven't taped our windows or anything, because unless they say the eye of the storm is coming right directly this way, but far as we can tell, it's going to be heading into Connecticut. Let's see how Jeanette's doing.
Look at this picture of Providence.
Oh, this is a
Rhode
38
Island.
storm, huh? In the old geographics.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow, all those boats are just dashed up into pieces. Wow, Providence, Rhode Island. We've been there, or at least I've been there. Wow.
At that particular location,
That's amazing.
water over the streets. Again, it's Howard Beach, Queens, 160th Avenue and 102nd Street.
And it is flooding all over New Jersey.
We have cousins, or Jeanette has cousins who own a boatyard on southern Long Island, and they must be in some dire straits right now.
With such heavy rain. We have on the news line now County Executive for Westchester, Andrew O'Rourke. He's on a car phone, I'm told. Where are you driving around?
Well, actually, I just got out of the car. I was over in Mamaroneck Avenue, in that area of the county, looking at the...
Oh, look at some of those pictures. Okay. It's 20 minutes of 2. The wind has picked up considerably here. The storm center is now over Norwalk, Connecticut, right over Walt Reed's collection of illustrations. We're getting a lot of flickering, as you can hear on the radio, of our power. And we're expecting to get a blackout any time now.
So what Bob and I are going to do is, right now, we're going to take a trip for about a half an hour through the whole area and see what lines are down, what trees are down, and what the...
I didn't have a shower and a shave yet, so I took care of that. Jeanette's cooking the lasagna for our dinner guests tonight. We figured if we can get it cooked now before the blackout, which we're expecting, we will be able to keep it warm over our charcoal barbecue until dinner, assuming that they can all come, which I'm sure they can. The roads will be fine here in Rhinebeck. But as I look out the basement window, I see the trees just really shaking and leaves just floating all over. You heard a crack and it's over, huh?
Well, that's why before we heard a crash. And
Let's
you thought it
see.
was thunder?
Oh,
The
yeah.
maple tree. I
whole
went upstairs
tree.
to go,
Wow,
I
look at
forgot
that.
what I went upstairs for.
It just broke right
Over
off
a
at the
chair.
ground.
Yeah, it just broke right off. Oh.
Paul and Richard are with us here as we look out the window of the
You know,
dining
it
room.
could be saved at this point, but they'd have to
think
winch
so?
it up. Yeah.
Yeah, but Jeanette, it's broken off. It's snapped.
Oh, it snapped. Oh, never mind then.
It's not uprooted. It's snapped at the right. Can you see it?
Gosh.
Oh, gee, that poor tree.
No, but I love
It
that
looks like
one.
about a 30, 40 footer.
Yeah, it was. I was just.
Boy, I'd love to walk around the neighborhood
I
right
was
now.
just appreciating it recently too. that
Yeah.
tree.
Boy, that opens up the view to their house quite a bit more.
Jeez.
Doesn't seem like they're home.
It must not be, or they would have jumped.
They'd be looking at it. Is the lasagna in the oven? Are you free to take a walk with me?
Yeah, I sure am.
Let's take a hoof. Okay, let's go outside. We're walking down our little driveway here. Ah, you got the umbrella. Good show, Jeanette.
I have the umbrella.
It's just sort of a light, gentle rain with almost no wind right now.
Dead branches down all over the place.
Wow, let's go take a look.
Oh, man. Oh. I bet it wrecked the fence.
Gosh, it looks like it just ripped it right out. Remember we did hear a crash.
Yeah, I thought it was thunder. You said you whooped. You thought it was thunder, I think. But it wasn't thunder.
That was right during... No, I whooped because of the wind. I didn't hear anything at that point.
I thought it was
I just
thunder.
saw a huge gust because I looked out the window and I saw all the trees shaking.
Oh, man.
But I was looking
Hey,
out the other way.
That's incredible.
We can look at it up
You
close.
look at it? I'll take that home.
Wow. Gosh. It's weird. It just broke it off almost underground, Jeanette.
Incredible.
Yeah. The tree's lying almost parallel to the ground over their flower garden. The flower garden itself is sort of leveled. And the tree is just, it's just, it looks like it's about 30 feet tall, the tree. And it pulled up quite a big clod of dirt from underground. Wow. Oh, it just broke it off the roots underneath. You can see one of the main root junctions completely severed off.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It just, boom. It looks like it had been damaged, weakened. Like it had been a
Yeah.
fork tree.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And one of the forks went. Oh, it fell right on top of the flower.
Oh, gee. That's going to be hard to fix. Let's walk down towards Mr. Pink's. Okay. Oh, wow. The top of the tree extends over the picket fence and over the sidewalk.
Bending the fence, but it didn't break it.
Yeah. It looks
Looks like
heavy
about
and
40
swollen with
feet.
rains. And the leaves haven't even started to wither yet. They're still so new.
A lot of branches there. That's a good looking landsman kill. Still standing. Huh.
It's still standing, most of it.
Stronger than I thought.
Yeah, that old tree is... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's just a branch sticking out weird.
Huh.
But there's a lot of fragments and branches all over the ground.
Yeah, it's starting to shred, but it's still standing.
Yeah, it's raining fairly hard. But it's just like a normal rainstorm.
We're the only ones out
The ground
shoveling.
is scattered with leaves and a few branches. We can clear this one out of the road, Jeanette, so the cars don't have to drive over it.
Good idea.
It's this weird primitive tree with these kind of big bean type things on it.
There's those beans.
Wow.
You're doing my favorite thing. Walking in puddles.
You know it. I have my my rubber shoes on so I can walk through puddles in stereo. Okay, we are at the mini park in the middle of Rhinebeck.
Hey, it looks like
And
little rapids here. It's mini whitewater.
yes, a normally stagnant low stream here at Landsman's Kill is definitely surging up its banks. The water's brown and filled with lots
It's
of
up to that bridge.
leaves. Let's go check it out, Jeanette. We walked by a rather ominous sign, and that was the school's open sign, which was ripped into quarters and spread all over the street.
Major damage in Rhinebeck.
It must have been stapled stapled against the old telephone pole, and the wind just tore it right off the telephone. Big deal, right?
That thing fell over.
Hey, yeah, the old chessboard tipped
Oh,
over.
the kid did it.
Yeah, I don't think the wind would blow that over. Hey, where's our kayak, Jeanette?
Oh man.
This would be fun kayaking.
Yeah, it would be actually. It wouldn't hit any rocks this time under the bridge.
There's a lone Coke bottle just sort of sailing around inside the stream. I'm hoping that this rain isn't going to ruin my microphone, but I'll try to put it in my pocket for a while. This is quite a sight. We're standing next to Parsonage Street, right next to the bridge, which Bryn will probably remember since he's been along. And Paul, you walked across it to go to the laundry that one time. Anyhow, earlier this week I did a really detailed Shishkin-esque kind of painting of these big 6-foot-tall weeds in front of the kind of still reflective pond or little stream inlet. Now as we look at it, the pond is full of mud and it's flowing very rapidly and it's just swarmed up the banks. The rain and the wind have kind of shredded out these beautiful... Wow, look, they're leaning them over almost sideways now. You can hear the wind. And they've just sort of shredded out the motif and it looks absolutely nothing like it did when I painted it. It's just, you know... It looks like a different place, and the water is full of all these yellow leaves that have kind of swamped around the banks. Amazing how fast things change here. Even in the couple days between when I started the motif and when I finished it, it changed a whole lot.
Now it's really changed.
Now,
Look at this.
yeah, here's the fastest stretch of current here, up here by the... You can hear it now down there.
Hey, there's a big tree in there. Where'd that come from?
I don't know. Wow. Just brown water flowing really fast. That's really something.
You know how much it's eroding. Bet a lot.
Probably a fair amount. That's why it's brown.
Hey, those reeds are totally underwater.
They
weren't
didn't used to be,
the
did they?
other day,
No, you painted. I remember those are in your
painted
painting.
them. They were on the bank.
Oh, let's walk down into the park and then up Violet Place. Hi, Sherry.
What are you doing?
Fine, thanks. He looks like he lost a tree. Say hi to our friend Paul in California. We're making a live report of the conditions here in Rhinebeck. So how have you survived the hurricane?
Well, it was really weird because I came out in the garage to just look out and enjoy the storm, and I just heard this sort of like Oh, and the tree just went
Huh,
over.
it wasn't a
was
crack,
really
it just
strange.
sort of settled over?
Yeah, I mean, it was so strange. I had just spoken to someone on the phone, and they said, you know, if you have any problems, I'll be glad to work tomorrow, because I'm
Yeah.
supposed to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I said, well, if a tree falls in my house, I'll call you. And I came out, and the thing just fell right over.
Is that
It's
your
good it
tree or
went
your
that way.
neighbor's?
It's my tree.
Oh.
If it went this way, it would have been your garage.
Yeah.
It's a good thing it
I
went
mean,
that way.
The wind sort of funneled down between those two buildings.
Right next to our house, the Kessler's tree, they have a maple that's about 30 feet. That went over too, but we walked around, we didn't see any other trees
I
over.
was terrified like this one.
Oh, yeah, that big one.
But they held in there just fine.
How are your
This
cats? What is your cat's response to all
You
this?
know, it was really interesting because this morning, usually they're real playful during the day and they come outside and play. They just came in and slept. They wouldn't move. They
Huh.
were really weird. Maybe the low pressure affects them or
I
something.
bet it did.
Yeah, weird. But this tree was dead anyhow, so...
Oh, it doesn't look too good.
I mean, its root
Yeah.
system wasn't good.
Got
That's
good
why it
firewood.
went. I'm actually glad to see it go.
Good firewood now.
Although
you
I
can
made it to
chop
be a
out.
support for a vine that I had planted at the bottom, but I'll have to find a different support.
Yeah.
Is this your tape recorder?
Oh, yeah, this is the one we took to England. We went all over with it. In
That's
fact,
the tiniest thing I've ever seen.
oh, that's just the microphone. The
Oh,
rest,
wow.
I'm keeping the rest
Not
dry
much
in here.
bigger.
Oh, that's
It's the size of a Walkman, but it's
Yeah.
made for recording, and it records in stereo, so you'll come out of one speaker and I'll come out of the other.
How weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can walk around with it in the rain?
Oh, a little bit, doesn't hurt it too much.
Huh.
But oh, you should see the river over there. It's really swollen up its
I'll
banks.
bet it is.
We had just done a painting over there, and now everything's totally different.
I'm so amazed. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I thought it would go like all afternoon, and I thought there would really be just tons of rain. There wasn't as much rain as we've had at other times.
Just a
in the
few
past.
inches, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a
That's
kitty.
How's your basement? Is it holding its own?
It leaked right here. When I had this dug last
Yeah.
time, you know, there's an indentation there, and
Yeah.
the water just funnels right down in there. So
Oh.
I've called to try and get more dirt. And also, ironically, right above it, my gutters aren't working very well. You can see where they're sort of
Oh,
dripping
yeah.
down
Yeah.
there. And so those two things combined makes it leak there. But I had expected, like in the past when I've had rain, that the water would come up from
Yeah.
underneath. And
Yeah.
it didn't do that. It just leaked in right here.
Oh, well, that's not too bad.
No, so
good.
that's not bad at all.
Ours
I can
is
go
doing
mop
that,
up.
too.
Yeah, I can just go mop that up. It's
Yeah,
not
we
like-
have a little down there, but not much
Yeah.
in the workshop area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
A couple of puddles.
We're
but-
just sort of cozy in our house, and
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
So your property wasn't hurt, and your new trees weren't hurt.
No, we
No.
braced them up well,
They're
and
all
they're fine.
staked.
Oh, that's good. I love
Yeah.
those trees. It makes
Yeah.
such a difference in the front
Oh,
of the house.
Yeah.
We're going to do the front now. We finally ripped out the bushes, the end of the bushes. They're sort of
How
like
did you
this.
rip them out?
Well, Doug. We dug
Just like,
with shovels.
like Michael Trimble
and
said, you just get in there with an axe and shovels, and
just
that's all
go
we
in.
did.
That's what we
Yeah.
did.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Yesterday we got
Because
the
I want to
last
get
of
rid
it.
of that one.
Oh, yeah.
obviously.
That'll be a big job.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
I can recognize it.
Yeah. It was a rock at one time.
The rock bush, yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Getting it
boy.
out of there will be hard, but I hope to do it. Maybe in the spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, these
Is this off
Hicks
now?
U, they get too big.
Yeah, Wow, the wind picked up again. Look at that bunch of leaves coming down. Did you see that? Oh, it's nice seeing Sherry.
Yeah, very nice visit. Quick visit.
Short, quick visit.
Say hi.
She's the lady that lived across the street from us at our rental, and who now has about, 9, 10 cats?
Yeah.
She loves cats. She works at a bookstore. Real nice lady.
Oh, look, they've painted that house and they've planted it.
Yeah, hey, it looks nice, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I think maybe new people.
Could be. I love the tan color with those flowers in
That's
front.
how I want our walk to go, off to the side, bordered with flowers.
You gotcha.
Just like that.
You got it.
Oh, that's pretty. Gorgeous.
Look at the tree up ahead, Jeanette. That one at the end of the street is really turning.
Fast.
It turns from kind of a green to sort of a dull reddish color. Beautiful. Beautiful color. Leaves everywhere in our backyard, and there's no trees really hovering over. Well, nothing more dramatic to report than that, but it was a nice walk, and mainly the stream looked wonderful.
Beautiful.
Unknown at this time which factory was involved, the extent of the damage, or if there were any injuries. Now, a ShopRite supermarket in Bohemia had its roof blown off. No word of any injuries or whether that had anything to do with the gas explosion. 2,000 people were temporarily stranded in Huntington on a Long Island Railroad train when power was lost. Everyone was removed.
Lines are fine. No problem.
So, has she had other people calling her since the...
No, and she found out she can't go to Ventura until the end of October.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah, I thought that was going to happen. She says, you know why? She called up her travel agent and she said, okay, I need the tickets now. And the travel agent said, you got to give 30 days notice. If you don't, it's $790 each.
I mean, they have to pay that amount if they can't go?
No, to go, to buy the tickets.
Oh, I see.
But if you give 30 days notice, it's half.
Oh, no.
Isn't that crazy? So
she didn't think of ordering the tickets until just now.
2 weeks before.
Oh,
and it has to be 30 days.
Mm.
So she's got to call Dad and tell him. I said, you better tell him. He's waiting.
They're counting on it.
Yeah.
So the boatyard is, at least the house that we walked around in, I remember that downstairs area, that was flooded right up to the...
Completely
right
flooded.
up to the level of the floor of the upper area, just about.
All that work Paul did, fixing it. They have to... She said they got the furniture saved because they pushed everything up to the higher part of the house and they put everything up high on things.
Yeah.
But the rugs and the woodwork, the walls, it's
sure. I mean, the wiring, what do you have to shut off all the... I guess it was blacked out anyway.
It's shot.
And he's been putting in a deli. Oh, he's been putting all his profits into new stuff.
They got a bait house, with freezers, refrigerators for bait. And
all the bait, needless to say, is shot.
Yeah, the waves hit all the freezers and refrigerators.
Did she mention anything about the shop or the tools?
No, she didn't say anything about the tools, but everything is underwater. Claire answered the phone. That's funny.
So
I never know what to say to Claire.
You called
and Phyllis.
Phyllis first at her house and then at the boatyard?
No, I just called Phyllis. They were all there.
Oh, they're all at Phyllis.
She described it all to me. She said they've got no power. You know how small our house is? She said everyone's here, and the kids, she said, are wild because they're all keyed up because of the hurricane.
Sure.
And she sounded sounded like she was at the end of a rope.
Did she describe the actual experience of the storm and the hurricane winds?
No, she just said it was, she stayed in. She didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Dom was, of course, at the boatyard because he's right in there. I said, was it as bad as Hurricane Donna we had at the Atlantis Marina in 1960? And she said she thinks it's worse. Thought it was worse.
Wow. Well, it hit them much more directly, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that's too bad.
Yeah. Claire answered the phone, so I wasn't sure if I had the right number.
You said it was hard talking to her? Or?
I never know what to say to Claire. You've met Claire.
Yeah, she's kind of from a different world.
Yeah, that's it. You said it right there. She's from a different world. And I never really know what to say. I said everything's fine here, we just had a bad storm.
Yeah.
And Phyllis said a lot of trees up wherever she looks around her neighborhood.
Huh.
A lot of trees. But there was kind of mud going through the air, she said.
They say that floodwaters are the most, cause the most damage.
Because of the mud, I guess.
Yeah. It's hard to get all that water out.
Paul's place is
everything's just
seawater.
so musty. That's their home.
Yeah. Their home. Oh, man. He's got to put new drywall in and wiring. And he just finished. Remember when we were visiting him? He was just finished.
That's a big job, too. Oh. I think a person is kind of numbed after something like that happens.
Claire sounded kind of numb. I said, well, how is everything? Oh, we're okay. She said, no one was hurt, so that's good. I said, well, that's good.
Also, that's true. You really are aware of what things are okay, like life and your basic house is standing at least.
She said, no one was hurt. I said, well, how's your house? She said, oh, it's underwater.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's no power, so they just abandoned it, kind of, and they're hiding out at Aunt Phyllis's. Wow. Camping, kind of.
So that's the story at the marina. Wow. Okay. We just finished our nice dinner evening with Jeanette Gurney, the former church organist, and Marge and Henry Wheeler. Marge Wheeler is sort of the artist coordinator lady in town, and she and her husband Henry have a dairy farm on the outskirts of town. They're Quakers, and friends of Janet that she introduced to us a while back. And boy, they were fun. And Jeanette and I were just talking about the kind of small town flavor that came through. Jeanette, remember the business of the meeting about the dog leash law ordinance?
Oh, hilarious. Rhinebeck is up in arms. Up in arms.
They had, it was like a personality battle that they had in the town council meeting about...
The dogs are running loose.
What was that story they were telling about Mr. Teeter?
You decanted it, right?
Yes, I did. This lasagna. Wow.
Jim likes the lasagna. Everyone likes the lasagna.
It was so funny. You and I caught each other's eye when they just started to talk about some people.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Oh, the Smith? Oh, yeah, that was the younger son who used to live over in the corner. Well, he married that Williams girl, right? Yeah, I remember him. The one that had the hardware store? No, he worked there when he was in high school. But he owned the gas station, and it's going on like this.
wonderful stories. Remember the story about the elephant? And Marge felt
Oh yeah,
really
tell that
bad.
story.
This lady would come in. She just did every single, like Saturday, 5:45, just when they're ready to close the dress shop. This lady would always come in and say, "Do you have anything in an elephant size?" Because she was like a big fat lady and she was kind of making fun. So they'd always say, "Oh yes," you know, when they'd show her something and she'd buy something.
Oh yes, but it's not elephant size.
But it's not elephant. It's just regular size. Anyway, one time Marge she was exhausted and it was just too much. Lady asked her the question like usual, and Marge said, "No, we don't have elephant things." But the lady was just crushed. She was just really hurt and really showed.
Oh.
And Marge said, "Oh, I felt terrible," she said.
But she was asking for it, man.
Yeah, she said, "How could I tell her that? Oh, that was mean." So she said, "I made up to her."
Oh.
Marge is so nice. She wouldn't do anyone
Oh, she
any harm.
is.
But then she's real feisty, she's feisty, you know.
She
she's
must have
never-
Irish blood, so she
Well,
looks
she
Irish.
looks very Irish to me. She looks pure Irish.
Freckles. How many
Short,
people her age
freckled,
still have
red
freckles?
hair, freckled, red hair, short, kind of stocky.
Mm-hmm.
She's definitely Irish. She's a Colleen.
Hey, she loves shishkin. I had some shishkins on my wall.
She picked them out from across the room.
She goes, she looks at those landscapes, on the other side of the room, and she goes,
Russian.
"Those are Russian." I go,
What? She said, "Oh, Russian landscapes."
"How can you tell?"
I said, "Ivan Shishkin." She goes, "Oh, I know his work." I said, "What? You
They've
do?"
been to Russia, that's why.
Right.
Remember what Henry was saying? Now, these guys are world travelers. He just got back from Tegucigalpa, and we were talking about Afghanistan, and being a kind of down east Yankee,
He's a real Yankee.
real ultimate Yankee Quaker. He's real quiet about things he's done in his life, but it somehow came out, and we didn't even follow up on this because it came off as an aside, but he said that he, well, that's going to be great on the microphone.
Oops, sorry.
He
I'm
said that
putting
he
away
went,
leftovers.
did you hear him say that he went across the border into the Soviet Union from Afghanistan?
No.
We didn't even follow him up on that,
You
but
did?
yeah,
Gee.
they've been all over the place. Because I think the Society of Friends helps out in war-torn areas.
Yes.
Because they've been in Zimbabwe.
They help with agriculture, education, and he is a really, really good dairy farmer from what I hear.
Prize-winning.
Prize-winning dairy farmer, and he can tell them what they need to know about production.
They used to be a high school teacher, too.
What a service-oriented person.
Yeah.
Real good person.
It makes me really respect the Quakers, I'll tell you. Very, very peaceful, gentle people. I really admire
In
that.
fact, a lot of times in conversation, what he's saying gets swallowed up because he's very soft-spoken and quiet. And you and I tend to be a little more rapid-fire.
Oh, I know, yeah. I can see how you do a real good,
That smells like lasagna. I'll use this side of it.
the sound of tinfoil crinkling.
Sorry.
That's not too bad. Oh,
This is cake.
That was good cake
Okay,
today.
your beverage. Look at all this food in here.
Janet was so happy when we sung Happy Birthday to her, Jeanette.
Yeah, was she? Ah, yeah,
She
was.
closed her eyes, made a wish, blew out the candles.
Mark said, "You make a wish," and Janet says, "You know I did."
She's a widow, and
I think I know what she wished.
two of her sons. What was that?
I was thinking, maybe not to be alone.
Yeah, maybe so. Two of her sons died, and the other one moved away and hasn't been in contact. So she went from being a wife and mother of 3
Oh,
sons.
she's actually divorced.
Oh, that's right. She was divorced. That's right. To she's not a widow.
No.
Oh, okay. Just her sons died. Oh, okay. Jack left her. That's right. He left her during all this trying time. But anyway, the point being that she's living alone and has been, really, really kind to me and Jeanette, inviting us over
Really good to us.
for desserts and everything, and introducing us to the Wheelers. And
Oh, I've got to point out the houseplants to her.
oh no, I told her that you brought in a lot of the house plants inside. That you have a real green thumb, especially the plants that she gave you.
Oh, thanks, honey.
Sure.
She took care of it for me.
I took care of it.
Thanks. That's a nice fella.
Hey, they cracked up when you said you were 100% Italian and I said I was 100% English, but I've already started to take on the hand gestures. Say. I'm all Italian, she said.
That was funny.
Oh, and their farm, they have 225 acres.
275
acres.
Of beautiful
They
woodland.
have 2 barns that the local artists, including this guy Wimp, who's an old illustrator, lives right around the corner from them, that they're always painting. Plus, I don't know how many head, 50 head of cattle or so.
Yeah.
And,
they have, 2 or 3 dairy cows, and the rest are cattle, eating cattle. They're Ayrshires.
Wow.
Ayrshires.
So might as well do the dishes.
I think it's going to be really gross to do them tomorrow.
But they just said, come on by anytime, paint them. I'd love to go paint over their place. I didn't realize this with them. Now, he's a Yankee. I didn't realize this with the Yankees. We tend to do this a lot. We say, we'd love to do this, or we're thinking of doing this.
And they mean
we speak in
next
hypotheticals.
week.
And to a Yankee person, like I said, oh yeah, we're thinking of that we'd like to visit in California.
They expected you to go tomorrow.
They said, oh, when are you going? And I realized I must have sounded like a real flake to them.
Because I heard you saying it, and I heard their response, and I said, what did he tell them? We're going next month?
No, I just said, I forget, it was really like a conditional thing, like you and I would say to each other.
Oh, no.
Like, we're thinking we'll have to go out to visit our families in California. And they go, oh, when are you going? And it sort of floored me, because I thought, well, anyway.
I know, I heard them say that, and I said, what did Jim tell them? Oh.
It's such a different
unload
sort of
this
thing.
first.
Sorry, I won't stack them on top.
It's a real different thing. You better watch out.
Yeah, that's perfect.
This was fun. It's funny, I wouldn't like to do it too often because it's an incredible amount of work.
Oh, you worked all day on
and
that
energy.
because you made all the noodles, huh?
Yeah, that's true, but I can't stand with buying them.
You can't buy a Stouffer's dinner when you're entertaining.
No, but we don't do it too often. I don't want to do it too often, But doing
Well, it's really nice with the
once a month
candle,
is
I mean, the
fine.
candlelight and the tablecloth and everything.
Yeah, I thought that was neat.
And he was talking all about Honduras and
Yeah.
what it's like in the outlying regions.
Yeah. I told Marge, I said, well, gee, I said, this way I get to use all our wedding gifts.
I was thinking, you guys, that there would have been some great stories for the tape recorder, but it's sort of hard to explain to people, it's sort of hard to explain. Do you mind if I turn on the tape recorder? It sort of puts everyone on the spot.
But we were telling them, though, that we do these tape letters, and Henry was intrigued by it.
Yeah, he loved the idea. So we didn't have the blackout after all, that's good. Storm passed through and it's real nice and peaceful here. That's so funny about the logo. We've got to go to the dog ordinance meeting, Jeanette.
Now let's Janet when the next hearing is.
Why don't you tell just briefly about Velma, because she's one of the town characters.
Oh, Velma's a lady she's a widow in her 60s, or 70s even. And she lives in a really big old decrepit house at the corner of Parsonage and Chestnut Street. It's all behind a bunch of overgrown things. It has a back stairway that's collapsed. And the front door is covered up by schnack. And you have to use the back door. And she calls herself a pack rat. I'm not sure what I call her as far as pack rat goes. What's more than a pack rat? Anyway, she just recently went on a 9-week trip to Russia, and which is really neat. I mean, Janet was just full of admiration for her to go off on this trip, and it's a tour. But she's really, really overweight, and she has trouble with her legs. And the fact that she's taken this tour at all is a miracle. She just wants to go.
As Janet said, she goes, I really admire her, but I don't see how she could go around the world when she couldn't even get off the ground and get into the taxi. Because Janet saw her when they were trying to wedge her into the taxi, and she sort of got stuck.
She said they had to put 2 people had to push her.
Oh.
Oh, that was hilarious. That must have been hilarious. I would love to have seen it.
And she had some like Bulgarian translation of the Bible that she wanted.
Romanian.
Romanian, because Billy Graham was going to be in Romania when she was going to be there. She wanted him to sign it. So.
Yeah, but it's a Romanian Bible she got somewhere. And that, one time when Janet went to go see her and wanted to ask her if she wanted to watch the firemen's parade with her, Vilma was real busy. She was in her living room, which is sort of her bedroom. She sleeps on the ground floor. And she was busy with these 12 plastic bags around her, sorting what looked like old-fashioned women's bloomers from like 60 years ago. And Janet said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, just sorting some of my mother's underwear." And her mother had died like 40 years ago, and she still had her old underwear.
Oh, weird, man.
And she was sorting it, and I mean, this is a lady that won't throw out anything. Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing. She wears these floor-length muumuus and Birkenstocks all the time. That's all she wears.
Gosh.
Muumuus.
She just stores away all that stuff.
Yeah, her house is so full of schnack. And the furnace doesn't work, so she doesn't stay there.
Jeanette was describing that when she went to visit the house, Janet took her over to the house to see it, that you walk around and you can see daylight just coming through the walls. You can stick your fingers out through the holes in the house.
Unbelievable.
She doesn't
And the
live there
furnace doesn't work.
She doesn't live there through the winter. Last year, she drove all the way out to California and then over to Florida.
So I guess what she does is she gets the water out of the pipe, there's no furnace, and she just leaves it go. But the thing is, the house can't take that kind of climate change, and everything smells kind of moldy because
sure.
You know, it can't get that damp and that cold, and you know you can't expect it to be okay. You know. It's really an odd stitch, real odd stitch. She's trying to sell her house for $100,000. She won't take a penny less.
But it's going to take another $50,000 to fix up at least.
Easily.
Minimum.
Anyone buys that house, it's either got to be a contractor or someone who wants to take a loss. Someone who doesn't care what they do with their money.
Marge was saying, now you're going to think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. When I owned the clothing store, is that over? No, we have a little more. When I owned the clothing store, she would come in when I'd have a sale on handbags, and she would just clean off the racks, holding both her arms out, and you think I'm exaggerating, but she had 15 purses on both of her outstretched arms, and she'd come up to the cash register.
Buy them all.
And I'd say, Vilma, she said, if you buy all those, I won't have anything to sell to the other customers. So I had to make a limit per customer for her, for Velma.
Just for Velma. And she said, I think she was reselling them in Poughkeepsie.
Oh, yeah.
She must have had a source, an outlet. That's it. She must have had an outlet for them.
They had stories about every person that
Right
lived right there.
has a lot of characters, let's face it.
Because Marge and Henry, they asked Janet how long has she been here. She said, 25 years or so. And, oh, yeah. Oh, you're a newcomer.
1959.
Yep.
January 5th, 1959.
Right.
She said she remembers because it was the coldest, most miserable day of the year. It was really cold, and they had to have the doors to the house open all day because they were moving furniture in. It really stuck in her mind for that reason.
Wow.
It was bitter cold.
Ooh.
No, that's a tough thing to do, leave the house open all day because you're moving.
You bet.
Was that
On
cold?
a day like that. We were lucky because it was right around January 1st, but we had 70-degree weather. Remember that, Jeanette?
You and Michael carried in all the heavy
It was
stuff.
the warmest day of the
Michael trembled.
whole year. I mean, the whole winter season, that is.
Yeah, we had good pals helping us.
Yeah.